Yo, I'm back. I know it's been like at least 2 months, maybe. I don't know. I've become a hermit in my young age a little bit, and I kind of just haven't done anything in a while. Also, this episode was ungodly fucking long to make, so like, that's also part of it. And I got sick like 3 times, and all 3 times were some of the worst illnesses I've ever had. This has been a wild ride, that's all I can say. Well, anyway, I got kind of bored, so I've decided to talk about the top 10 movies of all time according to IMDb. Some of them I've seen, some of them I haven't seen. And now you get to see how truly uncultured I am.
I will be going off of IMDb's top 250 movie list. It just uses the metrics of overall positive rating and number of reviews. It just seemed the most fair, as that is literally what are the best movies according to the website itself. They have one that uses Metacritic scores, and it's the top 100 movies, but that's user reviews and not critic scores, and I'm going off of critic scores, simply because the critics are always right.
As we all know, the average moviegoer is stupid. The critics are always right. Always. Always. Okay, maybe not always.
I'm just going to give my general thoughts on each movie and quickly review them, while also seeing if they deserve the accolades they have, if they really are as good as the critics say. Number 10. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. This is the third film in the Dollars trilogy, consisting of A Fistful of Dollars, for a few dollars more, and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. I haven't seen any of these, and apparently they aren't really connected in an actual narrative. Some say they are, some say they aren't. I don't think they are. Really, the only connecting threads are they have Clint Eastwood, and all of them were made by the same guy, Sergio Leone. Either way, I'm not going to watch the first two, because apparently The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly takes place before them anyway, like timeline-wise, so okay. After watching it, this movie is a masterpiece. I don't know how it took me this long to watch it in the first place. It's just so good. The whole thing is just fantastic. I went into it blind, so I think you should too, so I'm not going to give a ton of plot. Basically, you got this one guy named Tuco, played by Eli Wallach, who's the ugly, and you've got this one guy named Blondie, played by Clint Eastwood, who's the good. The good double crosses the ugly, so the ugly's after the good, and the bad, played by Lee Van Cleef, who's named Angel Eyes, by the way, is somewhere in the middle trying to find this one guy named Bill Carson. It sounds confusing, it's not, it makes sense in the movie. It is so good. It is some of the best spaghetti western I've ever seen. Shit, now I gotta explain what a spaghetti western is real quick. Okay, so this film was made by Italian writer and director Sergio Leone. Most of the cast and crew thus spoke Italian because he was Italian, but they also spoke a whole bunch of other languages too. Basically, every human being from every corner of the earth decided to work on this thing for some reason, but there were also a bunch of American actors, 3 of them being the main actors, Clint Eastwood, Eli Wallach, and Lee Van Cleef, and all of them are dubbed. Every single person in this movie is dubbed because they all spoke their own languages on set, and apparently Sergio Leone would play parts of the soundtrack while filming to get the actors in the mood and give them a proper tone for the scene, but thus is the spaghetti western. If you're used to watching foreign movies like me, it won't bother you, and even if you aren't, you'll get used to it. This movie is over 3 hours long, so you will be completely unfazed by the end. You won't even think about it. You'll just be like, ah yes, in this universe, everyone's words don't match their lips. Makes perfect sense. Ennio Morricone's score for this film is also amazing, by the way. He is a legend in film, and the music in this movie is just sublime. The ecstasy of gold in the movie's main theme are just so well known. Seriously, I guarantee you've heard them. They're that iconic. You just say Good, the Bad, and the Ugly whistle, and people will immediately know what you're talking about. And then some jackass will try to imitate it and completely fail. That jackass is me, I can't whistle. They might not know Ennio Morricone's name, but they know his music. Watching this movie is really neat at times as well, because you can tell exactly what's been parodied by others and what has inspired others throughout. The scene with Blondie shooting the rope with the noose in the final battle have been referenced in more movies and shows than I can even count, and the amount of movies that have been inspired by the final battle is frankly uncountable. Basically, every Mexican standoff in every movie takes from this original scene in some way. I will say this though, every character is kind of the worst, so don't go into this thinking, ah yes, I'm gonna love these characters. You're not, you're gonna hate them the whole time, and it's the best part. Angel Eyes is a bad dude, Tuco is a really bad dude, and Blondie, despite being labeled as the good, is kinda terrible himself simply by associating himself with Tuco. His only redeeming qualities are that he doesn't do the fucked up shit that Tuco and Angel Eyes do, and that he can be nice to people if they deserve it sometimes. I really like that about this movie though. Sometimes it's good to not like every main character. I kinda hate that every big blockbuster now feels the need to make you just absolutely love the characters and have them just be this good beacon of hope. Nah, sometimes I want to watch a tortured shitbag like Tuco scrape by and still get his teeth knocked in every few minutes, because it's funny. And God, can this movie be funny? Tuco messing with the gun shop owner is one of the most demented and hilarious scenes out there. He doesn't even kill him or nothing. He's just screwing with the poor dude to screw with him for no real reason, and it's freaking hilarious the entire time. I love it. This movie is great, and also long as hell, but I do think it deserves your time, and it definitely deserves all the praise it gets. It's honestly one of the best movies I've ever seen, probably in my personal top 20 or top 15 movies in general.
Okay, now after that masterpiece, what's next?
Number 9, Pulp Fiction. Yeah, I figured this would be on the list somewhere. It's Pulp Fiction, probably the most influential crime movie of the last 30 years. The co-writer and director Quentin Tarantino has 5 films in the top 250 movies alone. Kill Bill Volume 1 at 151, Reservoir Dogs at 101, Inglourious Basterds at 68, Django Unchained at 52, and Pulp Fiction at number 9. It would have amazed me if Pulp Fiction wasn't on the list somewhere in general. I've seen this movie before. I love it. I've watched it a ton. I watched it when I was like 13, which was probably way too young, but I loved it then, and I still love it now. So I'm going to rewatch it real quick just to get my final thoughts put together. This was Tarantino's second film after Reservoir Dogs, and is often considered the best in his filmography. While I will always be of the opinion that Django Unchained is his best work, I can definitely see why so many people seem to gravitate more to this film. It's really good. The dialogue is so unique and well written that it seems like every movie was trying to imitate it, for better or for worse, for like the next 5 years. The directing style and shot composition, while not as flashy as Tarantino's later work, still has a style and flair that's pretty recognizable as his today. The soundtrack, while not containing any original music, has some fantastic needle drops with this overall sort of surf rock vibe that really revitalized the popularity of the film's opening track, Miserlou. Much like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Pulp Fiction follows several characters: Jules Winfield and Vincent Vega, a pair of men sent after a briefcase owned by the crime boss Marcellus Wallace, and then there's Butch, a boxer who Marcellus Wallace, the crime boss, wants dead after Butch didn't throw a fight he was supposed to. The movie has a pretty massive supporting cast too, from Harvey Keitel as Winston Wolfe, Uma Thurman as Marcellus Wallace's wife Mia Wallace, Ving Rhames as Marcellus Wallace, and Samurai Jack himself, Phil Lamar, who plays a small but extremely important role towards the final third of the movie, that role being Marvin. The film is structured into 5 distinct parts, basically 5 short stories, like that of the pulp magazines the film was inspired by. All of them include Vincent Vega as either the focus or part of the main plot. Even the most disconnected segment, where the character of Butch, played by Bruce Willis, has to retrieve his father's gold watch, has Vincent appear briefly, even though it has really nothing much to do with him. This segment also contains the most shocking scene in the movie, that being the pawn shop. Look up the scene for yourself or watch the movie, but I ain't spoiling nothing. All I'm gonna say is it's really fucked up. You have been warned. Which, now that I think about it, is like the ultimate beacon to like everybody watching this thing, like, ooh, I better see the fucked up thing. All 5 of these segments are unique in their own way, and forward the plot in also unique ways. Wait, what's the plot? It's really hard to explain because the movie is told completely out of order, which might sound confusing, and it is, but it's not when you actually watch the movie. It makes perfect sense the way it's done, but I have no idea how to explain anything except it's about a guy named Vincent Vega, played by John Travolta, who works for a mob boss, and he has some really horrible luck. Seriously, Vincent fails at every possible moment. This man is the worst hitman I've ever seen. The end of the movie is also, weirdly enough, mainly about Jules, played by Samuel L. Jackson, and is probably the highlight of the movie for me. Honestly, he is relentlessly funny in this thing. I pretty much rewatch it strictly for him. And speaking of funny, this is the only movie on the list that I would call a flat-out comedy. It's a very dark comedy, but a comedy nonetheless. Pulp Fiction deserves all the good reviews and praise it gets. I mean, it's amazing. In my opinion, it is the most influential crime movie of the last 30 years. It changed storytelling for better or for worse with its out-of-order thing. Plenty of people have done it, most have failed, but it's the reason why we have movies like Snatch. I love the movie Snatch. Seriously, if you haven't watched it, watch it. It's so good.
Well, after that incredibly expected good thing, I wonder what's next.
Number 8, The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Fucking hell, another 3-hour movie? Why are they so long?
Hey, another movie I've seen. Now, Fellowship of the Ring has 2 very distinct versions. There is the theatrical cut and the extended cut. Now, normally with something like this, I wouldn't actually watch the extended cut, but I already own the extended cut, and I really don't want to have to spend money on the theatrical cut, especially because the theatrical version just isn't as good as the extended version. The extended version is so much better. Also, it gives me an excuse to watch one of my favorite movies again, so, like, I'm gonna do that.
Whew. That was a rather expected journey. Not unexpected. That's The Hobbit. And to my knowledge, the Hobbit trilogy is not even in the top 250 movies.
What more can I say about the Fellowship of the Ring that hasn't already been said? It's amazing. The whole Peter Jackson trilogy is amazing. It follows the main beats of the book well, but it deviates heavily, and while that may not work for most book adaptations, you gotta remember how massive the Lord of the Rings books are. There are some things left out of the book that I really wish were mentioned here or showed up in some way, my main one being Tom Bombadil. I love Tom Bombadil, but he makes no sense for this movie. It is completely understandable why he's not here, but that doesn't mean I don't want him here. But we're not talking about the differences between the book and the movie, we're talking about the movie as a whole, and what did I think of Fellowship of the Ring? A lot. It is a marvelous sight to behold, and its story flows better than most of anything I've ever seen. The extended cut is wonderful beyond measure, and gives so much more depth to all the characters, and just the story in general. It's just such a good addition. The story follows Frodo Baggins, a hobbit who is sent on a journey by his friend Gandalf the Grey, a wizard, to destroy the One Ring in the fires of Mount Doom. The One Ring is sought after by Sauron, an all-encompassing evil who's really only seen as an eye. There was a deleted scene that actually showed him in his, normal mortal form, but that got cut. Anyway, he's turned Gandalf's old companion Sauron the White, who is also a wizard. Two different characters, by the way, just very similar names. And Sauron has now created an army of what are called Uruk-hai, half-man and half-orc soldiers, sent to kill Frodo and his many other companions. There are also the Ring Wraiths, or Black Riders, who are sent after the ring as well by Sauron. This movie's scale is absolutely massive, and the plot is very intricate, as you can tell, with many moving pieces. There is a lot of characters, too. There's Bilbo, Frodo's uncle, who had the One Ring before him after stealing it from Gollum, who only appears in the movie for, less than 2 minutes. He does become, a main character in the second and third film of the trilogy, but he's not really important in this one. Bilbo also doesn't appear in this trilogy a ton, but was the main character in the book that came before The Lord of the Rings, simply titled The Hobbit. The Hobbit would also get a film trilogy. That's not as good as Lord of the Rings, but I still like it. I am one of few who do. There's Samwise Gamgee, Frodo's gardener, and the man sent by Gandalf to help Frodo in his quest. He is the reason Frodo survives several ordeals in this trilogy. Of course, there's Gandalf the Grey, an extremely powerful wizard, and the group's guide throughout a lot of this movie. He is the wisest of the group and the one to start their journey. He does a lot of kick-ass stuff in this film, from fighting Sauron, to fighting a Balrog, to having more sass than all of the other characters combined.
What are you going to do then?
Knock your head against these doors, Peregrine Took.
There's Merry and Pippin, who serve as the film's comic relief. Merry is pretty chill in this movie, and mostly serves as the brains between the two of them, though there is very little to go around. And Pippin does a lot of stupid stuff, and is very stupid in general. Unlike most comic relief, though, in movies, however, these guys actually work extremely well, and don't come off as annoying in the slightest. They're basically just two dudes along for the ride. They have no idea what they've gotten themselves into, and that's probably the funniest part of this entire thing. There's Aragorn, also known as Strider, who is the first person the four hobbits meet on their journey, and he protects them through a lot of it. Without Aragorn, they would all be dead. He's also a very well-written, pretty deep character with love, loss, and victory throughout the entire trilogy. He's probably my favorite of all of the characters in this trilogy in general. There's Boromir, who probably shows the most emotion outside of the hobbits in this movie, and while wanting the ring for noble reasons, Phil wants it too much, and can't be super trusted, even if he has good intentions. Finally, there's Gimli and Legolas. They both hate each other because elves and dwarves do not get along, however they grow a friendship throughout the films. It is truly spectacular. Seriously, these guys have some pretty stellar moments in the second and third movies. They do some pretty funny stuff. Yeah, that's a lot of characters in one movie. I'm leaving out a lot of them also. Galadriel, Elrond, Arwen. I barely even touched the Ring Wraith, Saruman the White, or even Sauron for that matter, the main villain. I could spend hours explaining this whole movie, but I won't. I've already spent too much time talking about the characters, so let's talk about other things. The story is amazing, which makes sense. It's based on one of the greatest book series ever made. It flows very well for a nearly 3.5-hour experience. There's a lot of big set pieces, from the Shire in the beginning of the film, to the Kingdom of Rivendell, to the deep mines of Moria, where Gimli's fellow dwarves resided for many years. This movie is massive. It's a miracle it turned out as good as it did. This is the first special effects heavy film on the list, and it is wild how well the special effects from 2001 hold up. Wow. It perfectly melds practical and digital in a way that films would never touch nowadays. This is the last of a breed of movies where miniatures, physical sets, and CGI were combined in harmony. It is absolutely insane how good this thing looks. This is a miniature. That is a physical miniature that actually exists in the real world. They built that. The little orcs milling about are CGI, but the things around them are almost entirely real. It's insane. This is also a miniature. Holy shit, it looks good. This whole movie is beautiful. Sure, there's a few things that look off. The segment where Frodo is drifting in and out of consciousness on his way to Rivendell has been memed to death. The cave troll is blatantly CGI, but I can forgive most of it. Overall, though, this movie rocks. It's got it all. And the score by Howard Shore is fantastic. Seriously, a lot of these movies on the list have fantastic scores. Does this movie deserve its reviews?
Yeah, I'm not stupid.
This film is great. Very few can deny its impressiveness. It's well-paced, well-written, and well-acted. It's a perfect film. The extended version is even more perfect than the theatrical version. So much is done in this film to make it as good as it is. There are very few movies that still fill me with childlike wonder and joy, and this is one of them. Every time I watch it, I notice something new, and if you're going to watch a fantasy movie, this is probably one of the best ones to watch.
Okay, I'm ready for the next one. I think it's gonna be fun. I hope it's fun. It's so far, these are pretty fun movies.
Number 7, Schindler's List.
Oh. Oh no.
This is the only film on the list made by Steven Spielberg, and is probably his most important film in my opinion. While he's been known for his massive blockbuster films such as Indiana Jones, Jaws, and Jurassic Park, Schindler's List is one of the few that takes itself entirely seriously. It is based on the real-life person Oskar Schindler, who saved over 1,000 Jewish men, women, and children during the Holocaust. He saved them under a ruse that they were workers in his factory and therefore could not be sent to concentration camps. This is a retelling of his life during this time, and it is brutal. This is one of the most powerful films I've ever seen. I never want to see it again. Schindler's List may not be the most accurate portrayal of the life of Oskar Schindler, but it does a very good job at portraying the basic story and fucked up nature of the Holocaust. And fucked up this story is. Very few movies affect me all that much, but this film really affected me. This movie is absolutely heartbreaking across the board. It is brutal and often cold in its depiction of the merciless killing of a race of people who did not deserve such an ending to their lives, and that is the point. A movie like this cannot hold back in any capacity, or it loses its point. And that's what I like so much about it. This movie is truly a just dark depiction of the Holocaust. The film is in black and white, and it uses its lack of color as an advantage. For almost its entirety, the film is shot in black and white. There are only a handful of instances of color during it, one of them being the girl in the red jacket. Because of the movie's black and white look, it would be easy to not think of the constant death surrounding the characters, because you're not seeing red blood everywhere. But by having one small child pop out of the colorless abyss and watch her aimlessly wander around as people are shot and chaos ensues, while Oskar Schindler helplessly watches from afar, is one of the most memorable yet distressing scenes in any movie. She appears twice in the film, and each time it is absolutely heartbreaking. There are constant scenes of people being murdered and terrified of the things around them, humans put on trains and treated like cattle. Just constant abuse throughout, and shown through the lens of a man doing what he can to help. Schindler's List is truly amazing, even if it is a rough watch at times. Every character is so well-rounded and gives such good emotion, from Oskar Schindler, the main character, Isaac Stern, his Jewish accountant, Amon Goth, a Nazi officer who runs the concentration camp Oskar funnels people out of to work in his factory, or Helen Hirsch, Amon Goth's Jewish servant whom he has conflicted romantic feelings towards. The film's score by John Williams is very well put together as well, and it aids many scenes throughout, but the film also knows when silence is needed. The film occasionally uses diegetic music, be it with people singing at parties, or one specific scene that really stands out to me, in which a Nazi soldier is playing piano while the other soldiers are raiding a house for Jews. It is never explained why he's playing the piano, if he's trying to ignore everything around him, or if he's playing it in a sick and twisted way to entertain the men while they're at work. But either way, it's jarring. This movie is truly amazing, but I don't think I can really recommend it to most. You have to be in a good headspace to watch it, or this thing will wreck you like it did me. It is depressing, with very little breaks in the madness surrounding everything that happens. Schindler's List deserves its praise. Its story is an important part of history, and it's one of the few films I've seen, apart from documentaries, that really make an effort to show the brutality of the Holocaust, with no frills or dancing around the events. A lot of movies say Nazis bad. This movie shows Nazis bad, and they're bad. Number 6, The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King.
Oh, hey, look, a bonus review.
Number 5.5, The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers. Yeah, I decided to watch The Two Towers before I watched Return of the King, as Return of the King is the third movie in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I haven't watched any of these films in well over a year. I understand the basic plot of The Two Towers, but I figured it would make sense to rewatch it, so I can understand the final film in the trilogy a lot better. The Two Towers almost made it onto the list, as it sits at number 12 on IMDb's top 250 movies of all time. I would also say it's the weakest of the trilogy too on a rewatch. Not bad by any means, god no, again, it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. But it definitely feels like the middle of a trilogy, you know? It's building up a lot of stuff, although there are plenty of good things within. It's not all set up. The Battle of Helm's Deep and the flooding of Isengard are two of my favorite scenes in all of Lord of the Rings, if not in all of film. Also, Gollum is in this thing, and he gets a ton of screen time. I love Gollum. It is wild how well his effects hold up visually. You do not get the feeling that he's just a pile of CG surrounding the characters. The filmmakers and VFX artists really took pains to make sure he was interacting with his surroundings as much as possible. This scene with him splashing through the water still looks fantastic. The film's plot, if you're wondering, is basically Merry and Pippin are kidnapped by orcs, escape, and then end up being some tree people who spend most of the movie just bickering with each other until they finally decide to attack Isengard. Gandalf is reborn into Gandalf the White, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, and Gandalf meet King Theoden, and break the curse that Sauron has put him under, turning him from a shrill old prune under the control of Sauron's goon named Grima Wormtongue into an actual functioning member of human society, and now they all have to fight a bunch of Uruk-hai at the Fortress of Helm's Deep. And meanwhile, while this is going on, Sam and Frodo and Gollum get captured by Boromir's brother Faramir because Gollum is guiding them to Mordor and they end up at the wrong place at the wrong time. This movie has a lot of moving parts, and that's not even all of it. There's elf shenanigans I never even mentioned. This movie is fantastic though, and doesn't feel bloated in the slightest. But I do feel like some characters really get left behind. Gandalf is just kind of gone for the back half of the movie doing Gandalf shit. Frodo and Sam kind of just exist, in my opinion, so we can learn more about Faramir and his father Denethor's squabbles, and Gollum is somehow the heart of the film. Seriously, he has some wild character development. I think Merry and Pippin's side quest with the trees is kind of long-winded and boring in spots. Like, I get why it's here, because we need to build up how indecisive the trees are with each other, and it has some great tension in it on the first viewing. But on subsequent watches, it's kind of tedious. Considering how little they take up the movie, however, it's not that bad. I'd rather just have okay scenes with Merry and Pippin than not have scenes with them at all, you know? Does this movie deserve the love it gets from fans and critics? I think so. The whole trilogy is so darn good. How could it not? I mean, it's the Two Towers.
Okay, bonus review over.
Finally, I'll have finished the Lord of the Rings trilogy once I watch Return of the King, the longest part of this video to get through. All 3 movies combined are 11 hours long. I don't know how some of you maniacs marathon these in one sitting plus the Hobbit trilogy. Now granted, I watched the extended cuts of these movies, but let's face it, with Lord of the Rings it was either go big or go home, and again, you maniacs go big or go home. I have never once seen you mention watching the theatrical cuts. You always talk about the extended cuts. How do you people do it? Much like the previous 2 movies in the trilogy, I've seen Return of the King, and I was very excited to watch it again. And it was amazing. This is one of the greatest films I've ever witnessed. This is by far the best of the trilogy. Visually and story-wise, just like the previous 2 movies, Return of the King is magnificent, telling a story like no other. Every scene has a purpose, and the extended edition proves that sometimes bigger is better. This beast is over 4 hours long, the longest of either the Lord of the Rings or Hobbit trilogy movies in general. But that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it, because I did. This is really good. But unlike most of the movies I've watched so far, where I have appreciated them and enjoyed them as a film, I don't really want to watch them all over again just yet, at least for a little while. I want to wait, you know? I feel like I could put the disc back on and just rewatch Return of the King start to finish, no issue. It's that good. The story continues where the Two Towers left off. Well, actually, no. It starts with a flashback to how Gollum got the One Ring, but then it starts where the last one left off. After defeating their foes in Isengard, Gandalf takes Saruman's Palantir, which is this crystal ball thing that's connected with a whole bunch of other crystal ball things, and one of them is owned by Sauron, who can, like, see whoever's using the crystal ball things. Anyway, they take it back to base, and Pippin gets curious, looks into it, and now Sauron thinks that he has the ring, and so Pippin and Gandalf go to Minas Tirith. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli are still with King Theoden, and his armies, along with Merry, who joins the ranks, because he wants to fight, despite being just a little guy. Also, Sam and Frodo are still being led around by Gollum, who's trying to kill them by sending them into the lair of Shelob, this giant spider, who is absolutely horrifying, by the way. Seriously, who thought this was a good idea? I'm going to have nightmares. I have to sleep with my teddy bear now because of this. Also, there's Faramir and Boromir's dad, Denethor, who's just losing his mind the entire movie. This is where the famous tomato meme comes from that fans can't stop referencing. These movies have so many memes, by the way. One does not simply, visitors, well-wishers, and distant relations. Why shouldn't I keep it? They're taking the hops to Isengard. Meat's back on the menu. Potatoes. Fighting alongside a friend. Where was Gondor when Westfold fell? Less than half of what I'd hoped for. And like 1,000 more. I just wanted an excuse to mention all the memes real quick. I think all the characters in this movie are handled really well with all their arcs. Eowyn, who is related to King Theoden, has some really good moments of just being a badass. She beheads a fucking Nazgul, which is wild. Although she does get kind of forgotten about towards the end, though. Like, she's there, but once the big fight at Minas Tirith is over, she gets like one more scene and then shows it for a quick bit at the end. Thankfully, she actually gets a scene, though, after the battle in the extended cut. Her and Faramir really just dip after Minas Tirith and then show up at the end for like a split second. Much like Eowyn's disappearance, this film has issues. And by that, I mean I think Saruman's lackey Wormtongue turns on him a little too quickly at the beginning of the movie. I think there should have been one short little bit of Wormtongue having like a moment of doubt with Sauron maybe, and that's why he turned so quickly, because like there was something before. But other than that, I got no issues. This thing is basically perfect. Some might say the special effects don't hold up super well. Yeah, CGI from 2003 isn't going to be perfect, but it still works. It was insane for the time, and even today it's still kind of insane that this was 2003 CGI. CGI in 2003 looked good, but this blew everything out of the water. The scale of this movie is huge, and the practical effects are huge too, specifically when Aragorn calls upon the armies of the dead in the cave they're hanging out in. That is a miniature, and those are a lot of tiny real miniature skulls. They are real. This was built and exists and is a gosh darn marvel of engineering. This movie looks amazing. The action scenes are second to none. Legolas climbing on the side of the Oliphant is just wicked. That elf has never done anything more badass. Well, except for that one scene in the Battle of the Five Armies. Yeah, you know the one where he's like hanging upside down from a giant bat while beheading fucking orcs. That is metal as fuck. Also, Gimli has a lot of time to shine this movie. He does some fun stuff. Him being terrified of ghosts is hilarious. A lot of people say the ending is way too long. I don't think so. Like, yeah, it's long, but like, it's not that bad. This movie deserves all the praise it gets, just like the last two. This is one of the best things I've ever seen. It's amazing. I don't think any fantasy film will ever surpass it. It would be amazing if anything came close in the next 10 or even 20 years. It is that good. I wonder what could even be above it on the list, though. I mean, it's gotta be good if it's got better reviews than Return of the King, right? Number 5, 12 Angry Men.
Excuse me? Baking powder? You said what? 12 Angry Men, huh?
I've seen this movie, and I will agree it's really good, but like, damn, is it high. I was not expecting to watch this when I first decided to look at the top 10 movies of all time according to IMDb. I was expecting Citizen Kane or Inception maybe, but not 12 Angry Men. This is an interesting pick. It is also the shortest movie on the list by a mile at only an hour and a half, which thank God, but the rest of these movies are all like in the 2-hour plus camp, so at this point an hour and a half seems short. This list does things to a man. 12 Angry Men is also the only film with a rating less than PG-13. Everything but Fellowship of the Ring and Return of the King are rated R, so 12 Angry Men is definitely an outlier from the rest. This movie is such a strange pick, it really makes you wonder why it has such good reviews. I mean, I know why it has such good reviews, it's a really good movie, but yeah, it's just kind of weird. The basic plot is you've got this kid on trial for the murder of its father. 12 men now have to decide if he's guilty or innocent. 11 men decide he's guilty. 1 man decides he's innocent, and over the course of the film has to convince everyone that there may be reasonable doubt of the boy's guilt. Most of the films we looked at so far were based on a book. 12 Angry Men is based on an episode of television. It was based on an episode from the anthology series Studio One. Of course, 12 Angry Men is also a beloved stage play, which was also adapted from the same episode. This movie definitely feels like a stage play too, as it takes place almost entirely in one location, that being the jury room of a courthouse. There's also a bathroom and a courtroom and the exterior of the courthouse shown as well, but those scenes really only take up a few minutes of the movie's runtime. The cast is made up of 12 characters and 3 main characters. Henry Fonda as juror number 8, who's trying to prove that the accused may be innocent, Joseph Sweeney as juror number 9, who's the first man to believe him, and Lee J. Cobb as juror number 3, the most stubborn human being alive who refuses to believe that the boy is innocent at all. Now, like a lot of the movies that I've talked about so far, I have seen 12 Angry Men. I love 12 Angry Men. It's one of my favorite movies, but I'm going to rewatch it just to make sure it's not absolute dog water. Despite the fact that I know it isn't dog water, I love this movie. Now this movie has a lot of twists and turns that I won't spoil because they're twists and turns. Basically, all I'm going to say is the boy may be innocent, boy may be guilty. I don't know, you don't know. There's one guy who says he isn't guilty, there's a bunch of guys that says he is guilty. Who will win, good or evil? I don't know which one's good, I don't know which one's evil. But yeah, it's really cool how it's done. They're like combing through evidence, like trying to prove something's wrong or right. It's really fun how it's done, it flows really nicely, and everybody has a part to play. Except juror number 6. He's important to the plot in the sense of he's one of the people to change his verdict to not guilty, and he's one of the few level-headed men that keeps things orderly in a few scenes. He kind of just sits there for most of it, but to be fair, there are 12 of these guys. Statistically, one is just gonna kind of be there. He has a personality, and he has his moments, but he doesn't really do a ton. Juror number 2 is the same way, but he's got a lot of panache. He gets a pass, you know? Every time in this movie, juror number 8 proves something right or wrong, it is so gratifying for the viewer. Not many films have made me clap during a pivotal moment. I can't express how clever this film is, and I can't express how much I think you should watch it. It's just great. It's a pretty quick viewing. Again, it's only an hour and a half, so like, it's pretty average length. Anyone can get through it pretty easily. It's a great movie. This thing is just amazing. Also, I'm now realizing it's the only film on the list to be wholly shot in black and white. If you remember, Schindler's List had color, just very little, so it's kind of neat, I guess. I wonder what's next. Number 4, The Godfather Part II.
Ah, shit. It's the Two Towers all over again. Okay, I gotta watch the first one before I watch the second one, so I'll go watch the first one real quick, and then I'll go watch the second one, and I'll do a review of the second one, okay? I'll be back in just like 7 hours.
Godfather Part II. It was pretty good. I like it a lot more than the first. But that's really all I'm going to say on the topic. The first Godfather actually shows up later on the list, so I don't really want to spoil my thoughts on it. But all I'm going to say is I think Part 2 is the superior film. I think it does everything the first movie did, but much better. The story flows better, I found the plot and characters a lot more interesting, and it's really nice to see how all the returning characters have evolved since the last movie. The story is a direct continuation of the first. Basically, Michael Corleone, who's the head of the Corleone crime family, played by Al Pacino, has a hit put out on him, and now he's trying to figure out who wanted him dead. There's some stuff that goes down in Havana, Cuba. His marriage is in even more shambles than it was in the first movie, and Michael's brother Fredo has a much bigger role this time around compared to the first, where I don't even reference him in my review once. He is much more in the forefront of this movie. The movie also has a second plot going on, where it cuts to flashbacks of the early life of Vito Corleone, Michael Corleone's father. Vito Corleone is played by Robert De Niro instead of Marlon Brando like he was in the first movie. Brando would have been nearly 50 at the time of filming, so he couldn't really play a 20-year-old version of himself for obvious reasons. He was supposed to have a cameo at the end of the movie, but that fell through, making him one of the few actors from the first movie to not return in any way. The flashbacks with De Niro are one of the best parts of the film, as it really gives an explanation on how the Godfather became the Godfather. This film is also a lot quieter than the first. There's a lot less action, which makes it a lot more shocking when stuff does happen. The dialogue is a lot more compelling than the first. Everything feels a lot more connected and tightly packed together. There's not much dead space in this movie, which is nice. The first one had that a little too much, I think. The ending, however, just kind of happens out of nowhere. I'm conflicted on it. On one hand, I really like how out of nowhere it is, like, wow, that's how this thing ends. That's kind of crazy. But on the other hand, I think it happens too quick. There's not enough of it, in my opinion. It just happens and the movie ends. But then again, the movie's also 3.5 hours, so I think the writers just wanted to get it over with, you know? Like, we need to end this thing. Do I think it deserves its praise, though? That's the question. It's like a solid 7 out of 10 for me. It's good, don't get me wrong. It's way above average, but at the same time, I don't think it's the masterpiece that many claim it to be.
That's all I have to say about that.
Number 3. The Dark Knight. Yeah, I wasn't expecting this either. The Dark Knight is the only comic book movie in the entire top 10, probably because it's one of the few good comic book movies that actually takes itself seriously and works as a movie. Don't get me wrong, I like the Marvel movies, specifically the ones up until Endgame and a handful of later outliers, but most of them aren't really high-class art. Well, maybe Deadpool and Wolverine, but the Dark Knight trilogy is one of the few sets of superhero movies that is wholly serious and is actually good because of it. But that doesn't mean it wasn't surprising to see this here. It's very rare that a comic book movie gets actual good critical praise, especially of the caliber of The Dark Knight, so this is going to be an interesting watch. Also, this is another sequel. Fuck. Yeah, I gotta watch Batman Begins first. Number 4.5, Batman Begins. Batman Begins is single-handedly the best comic book movie I've ever seen. I'm gonna try and keep this brief, but Christopher Nolan knocked this out of the park and halfway across the damn continent with Batman Begins. Genuinely, I haven't seen better. I like superhero movies, but I loved this. For one, it takes itself seriously. Again, I keep mentioning that. It reminded me of the OG run of Marvel movies in a way, except even more serious. While also understanding what it is frankly a miracle that this thing works, because it shouldn't. It's about a guy in a bat suit fighting a guy with a burlap sack over his head, who wants to make everyone in Gotham City trip balls and die. Also, there's a crime family in there somewhere, like it's the Godfather up in this bitch. How do you make that work? I don't know, but the guys behind Batman Begins did. It's very clear they understood what they were making. They understood the assignment fully. A movie that is grounded but also ridiculous as fuck. Ninjas, explosions, drug sequences, explosions, bat tanks, explosions. There's a lot of explosions in this movie. And not only are the explosions cool, but the rest of the effects are. Ra's al Ghul's mansion is a miniature. Gotham City is a miniature. This train is a miniature, and you can't tell unless you're a little gremlin like me who studies this shit. While this movie can be an absolute explosion fest from time to time, it also has a lot of good emotion in it. One of the aspects I really like is Batman and Alfred's relationship. Michael Caine and Christian Bale both have really good chemistry in this film, and you can tell that their characters have known each other for a very long time and are very close. It's very well done and very well written. As absolutely batshit insane as this movie can be, it does have a pretty good emotional core throughout. The cast is also amazing. Let me just rattle off the big names in it. Christian Bale as Batman, Cillian Murphy as Scarecrow, Michael Caine as Alfred, Ken Watanabe as Ra's al Ghul, Liam Neeson as the guy who teaches Batman Kung Fu, Gary Oldman as Commissioner Gordon, Morgan Freeman as Lucius Fox. This is a stacked cast, and they all work perfectly in their roles, even if Batman's voice is a little bit goofy.
What gives you the right? What's the difference between you and me?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
Normally, I don't like massive ensemble casts like this, because a lot of times it feels like the director just wanted to work with his actor friends, you know? But it does not feel like that at all. The casting is perfect. Yeah, Batman Begins is really good and really fun. Again, this is just a quick review since it's not like in the top 10, but I still wanted to watch it for the review, you know? If I had any problems with it though, it would be that the main villain Scarecrow doesn't get enough screen time towards the end, and the fight scenes are a little chaotic and hard to follow. And by that, I mean it's impossible to tell what's going on. Seriously, what the fuck is this? Take notes from kung fu movies. Let me see the action and don't use this much shaky cam. Anyone who makes fight scenes needs to watch some Jackie Chan movies. Watch Police Story and you will immediately understand what I'm talking about. This is incomprehensible. Okay, review over. Now I can watch The Dark Knight.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah, The Dark Knight was really good. Is it worth the hype? I'd say so. It's somehow better than the first, meaning that this is now my favorite comic book movie. The cast is good, the acting is fantastic, the special effects are on point, the story has so many damn twists and turns, the villains, oy vey, the villains. Two-Face and the Joker, hot damn. Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent / Two-Face is just perfect in this role. And Heath Ledger as the Joker, while I think overrated as fuck, is still fantastic. I think he does a good job, but I don't think he's the greatest thing to ever grace the silver screen. Some of y'all act like this man is God, and after watching Suicide Squad, I see why. Doesn't mean he is, but I see why. Heath Ledger has nothing compared to the King of Jokers. My heart will always go out to Cesar Romero from the 60s Batman TV series with Adam West. Obviously, I'm kidding, but I do think Heath Ledger is a little overrated. I love the Joker in this movie, but people really hype Ledger up in this role, talking about his extreme method acting and all that went into his character, and while I think it is a good portrayal, I don't think it was worth it. He is great in this performance, but I think Two-Face is the way better villain. But yeah, well, you know, that's just like my opinion, man. Overall, this movie is fantastic, though. I wish there was more Alfred, and this one guy, Coleman Reese, I felt could have used some work. Once his side plot is done, he kind of just disappears. I think he should have gotten, like, one more scene towards the end. This thing is 2.5 hours long. I don't think it would have affected the flow all that much. I think Batman's gadgets get a little ridiculous in this movie. Batman and Lucius Fox get a fingerprint from a bullet after reconstructing said bullet as a 3D model from a dent in the concrete it was shot at, and it is stupid as all get out. That is some goddamn magical science right there. How does that even work? This is the only point in the movie that threw me out of the story for a second. Because how the fuck do you get a fingerprint from a bullet that is past tense in a fucking wall? This is a 3D model in the year 2008. We could barely model Bowser the same year in Mario Kart for the Nintendo Wii. How does it even reconstruct that? And don't come at me with this is a superhero movie. That shouldn't be possible in the slightest. I am sorry, but that is where my suspension of disbelief ends. That is where the cord holding my suspension of disbelief up snaps and I go through the fucking floor. Okay, back on track. What's the plot? Joker decides to start messing shit up in Gotham, Harvey Dent is trying to take down the crime family from the first movie, and Batman is trying to stop all the bad stuff from happening. It's really hard to get into the plot without spoiling stuff, but here's some highlights. Semi-truck flip. That's real. They just actually flipped a semi-truck. All 18 wheels sent sky high. Batman in Hong Kong. Dope action scene. Also, the action scenes in this movie are way better. Much less choppy. Very nice. All the stuff with the Joker in the hospital. His conversation with Dent will go down in history. And, of course, the hospital explosion. Again, they did that for real. They just blew up a hospital. Yeah, this movie is good. Is it the third best movie of all time? No. Does it deserve its accolades? God, yes. This is the best comic book movie I've ever seen. And I've seen The Toxic Avenger from 1984. Number 2, The Godfather. Oh boy. I did not care for The Godfather. I can say that at the very least, it's quality. It's got a fantastic soundtrack by Nino Rota, Al Pacino as Michael Corleone, James Caan as Sonny Corleone, Marlon Brando as Vito Corleone, all do a fantastic job in their roles. The acting and emotion of these characters are off the charts. The cinematography and directing is really good. My only issue is that the movie is way too damn long for the actual content that it contains. It is 3 hours of nothing. Peter Griffin was right, it insists upon itself. It is very self-indulgent in its length. Nothing happens for so long. You're just waiting for shit, and when shit does happen, it's good shit, don't get me wrong, but there's not enough good shit to keep me interested in the rest of the shit, you know? Look at Pulp Fiction. That thing is all dialogue, and I am never bored, because it always feels like it's leading to something. There's always a joke, a quick bit of action to keep its 2.5 hour length worth your time. I find that The Godfather, while having compelling dialogue in a lot of scenes, and characters that are really cool in a lot of aspects, doesn't keep things interesting enough. Everyone talks very slowly and diplomatically. Sure, things are going somewhere, but I think the filmmakers really could have sped things up. There also isn't much story. Like, there's a story in here somewhere, but it takes forever to get to it. Basically, Don Corleone, the Godfather, played by Marlon Brando, is the big head honcho of all the Italian crime families in 1940s New York. He gets shot by a rival family, so his son Michael shoots the two guys involved, and then goes to Italy to hide away for a while. A year later, he comes back and then takes over the family's crime ring. Sounds simple. Easy. Quick. No. It takes 40 minutes for Don Corleone to get shot, then another 45 for Micheal to kill the guys who shot his dad, then after that he goes to Italy and he's there for like another 30 minutes. Then he gets home at the 2-hour mark, and that's when he becomes the head of the crime family, and things start picking up pace and become more interesting. I understand that movies have to build a story, but there had to have been a way to quicken things up, right? This story meanders all over the place. Then you got all the side plots with Vito and the other crime heads deciding whether or not to start trafficking drugs, Sonny fighting with his brother-in-law who's beating his wife who's Sonny's sister, and Micheal cheating on his wife who's still in the States while he's in Italy. There is a lot of stuff going on, but at the same time it feels like nothing is going on, because it's just so slow. Godfather 2 does basically everything the first movie did, but better. I can't deny The Godfather is important to history. I can't deny that. I simply can't. It's inspired thousands of films. It's probably the most influential crime movie ever. An offer you can't refuse is a term known around the world. I can usually figure out why people love a movie, even if I don't. I don't like Inglourious Basterds. I think it's just okay. But I get why people like it. The dialogue is smart, the story is really cool, it's got a great cast and fun action, the opening scene is sublime, seriously, that opening is great, but the rest of the movie is just not my bag, baby. I appreciate it, and I understand why it's so beloved, but I just am not as enamored with it as most. I do not know why people love The Godfather. People seem to like it though, and it's cool that there's so many that seem to think it's a masterpiece. I think it's just okay. If Godfather Part 2 was a 7 out of 10, this is like a 5 out of 10 for me. It's completely adequate, and that's it. It does its job at telling a story, it does its job at being a movie. I just don't like it. I don't think it deserves all the praise it gets. I think it is just okay. Number 1, The Shawshank Redemption.
This better be fucking life-changing if it's the highest rated movie ever.
The Shawshank Redemption was really good, but why in the world is it rated this highly? A good one to go out on, but definitely not as amazing as the reviews say. Still leagues better than either Godfathers, though. The Shawshank Redemption is about Andy Dufresne, played by Tim Robbins, and his time in Shawshank Prison after he's convicted of murder. And it's not a good prison either. He has help and companionship in the form of his friend Red, played by Morgan Freeman, who we just saw in Batman Begins in the Dark Knight. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the plot, because there really isn't one. It's kind of just Andy Dufresne's life in prison. Basically all I'm going to say is Red can get things, and Andy can do things, like taxes. And maybe laundering money for the prison warden, I don't know. Also, he pesters the US government until they make him a library in the prison. What an absolute madman. This movie is based on Stephen King's novella Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. It is one of 4 stories by King that have been turned into a film, written and directed by Frank Darabont. Others being The Woman in the Room, a short story by King that Darabont made into a short film, and the 2 others were feature films adapted from The Green Mile, another prison-related book, and Stephen King's The Mist, something that has nothing to do with prison, in the slightest, like the farthest it could possibly be from prison. When it comes to Shawshank, Darabont made a very fucked up movie, but also rather uplifting. Every time Andy beats the system or gets just a little bit of rest from the horror show that is Shawshank, you feel good, and then the next minute you watch him fight off a group of prison rapists. Again, this movie is pretty dark. For every 2 bad things, there's one good thing though, and that makes it work. If it was all bad, it would just be very unpleasant. If it was all good, it would be unrealistic and boring. This movie has a little bit of both. 2/3 unpleasant, 1/3 happy, kinda. Just happy enough where you want to see how things end. Speaking of endings, it's long, and the one part of the movie that isn't my favorite, to explain why I'd have to spoil the ending, and I don't want to do that, so just watch it for yourself. I know some people who love the ending, so it could just be a me thing. Either way, the movie was still really good, though. Do I think it deserves such rave reviews? I think people loving it is perfectly understandable. There is very little that I could complain about, but I think there's plenty of movies out there that are just better. I think it's one of those movies where it's hard to really say anything bad about it. I think most people who reviewed it give it such a high rating because how do you give it a low one? It's nearly perfect in every way. It's just a really solid movie about a dude in prison. My only real issue is, again, how long the ending is and how it wraps up afterward. I think it could have been done differently, but even then, it's not really a bad ending, I'm just not a big fan of it. I'm kind of indifferent on Shawshank. I think it's really, really good, but I also don't really care if I ever watch it again, you know? Like, I'm not opposed to watching it. If somebody says, hey, do you want to watch Shawshank? Sure, I'll watch Shawshank. But there's like a million other things that I would rather watch. That's kind of my thoughts on it. Kind of a lame way to go out with this set of reviews, but I mean, hey, what can you do?
There. I did it. I saved the world. Well, actually, I just reviewed the top 10 movies of all time according to IMDB, but you know, that's something too, I guess. Now, these reviews are based on the number of positive reviews and how positive said positive reviews were. But why?
Why? Why? Why? Why? Why?
Why were these movies rated so high? Some of them were just okay. Some of them were really good under the okay ones. What's this all about? Maybe there's like some kind of, I don't know, commonality? I don't know. Let's see.
A lot of movies are based on already existing stories. 8 out of the 10 movies are based on something that already exists. Godfather 2 is weird though. It's a sequel to the first movie, and some parts of it are in the original book, specifically the life of Vito Corleone, but other than that, it's kind of its own thing. It's a little weird, but since it's a continuation of the movie, and in turn the book story, I'll count it in the 8. Every movie except 12 Angry Men is obscenely long, so as to tell the best and most intricate story it can. None of these movies have come out in the last 20 years, except for The Dark Knight, which is 17 years old, so these movies are decently old. Well, old for a movie, I guess. Which either shows that we've really stagnated as a society in our art, or nothing has been able to top the magnificence of these 10 movies. I'm gonna go with the stagnation of art. These movies also seem to have a lot of famous people in them, and are often written and directed by famous people, like Francis Ford Coppola, Quentin Tarantino, Sergio Leone, Steven Spielberg, and Christopher Nolan. These 5 commonalities create what is, in my opinion, a breeding ground for constant and rave reviews. It's based on a grand story or thing that people already know and love. It's rather long, so it can tell the best version of that beloved story. It was made 20 years ago and the movies are still talked about, so people keep reviewing them, which leads to more reviews. There's familiar faces that people know and love, therefore making them like the movie even more, and it's made by a big name that people love, making them love it even more. All of these different things compile into a handful of movies that get insanely high reviews, because they are insanely popular. Also, people review famous movies a lot more than non-famous movies, just in general. Or at least that's what this list seems to imply. Also, I think people often embellish their thoughts on movies because these movies are deemed as classics, so you feel the need to give it a good review. Because you can't say anything bad about Pulp Fiction. It's Pulp Fiction. After looking at all these movies and their reviews, there are some that I'm very shocked at were not on the list, specifically these 3. Citizen Kane, Jaws, and Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. Seriously, how were these not higher? I would argue that Jaws is better than the top 5 movies on the list in general. It frankly shocks me that Citizen Kane, which is often deemed as the best movie ever made, isn't even in the top 100. Star Wars Episode 4 literally created the blockbuster. I think most of these movies on the list are good, but I don't think they're the greatest ever made. Like, Shawshank is good, don't get me wrong, but it really shouldn't be the highest rated movie of all time on IMDb. I would honestly say the first 6 are way more deserving of the top 4. Same with Dark Knight. It's good, but I don't think it's like the 3rd best movie ever made. But hey, this is just my opinion, so, you know, fight me in the street or something, I don't know. But now that I've given my general thoughts on the list in general, let's have some fun and rank the top 10 movies based on how much I like them, just as movies. Batman Begins and The Two Towers are not included in this, those were extras, okay? Don't be greedy. I'll be ranking these worst to best. Number 10, The Godfather. Honestly boring as hell. Like, it's okay, but I don't want to watch it again. Number 9, The Godfather Part II. Much better than the first, but again, I don't really want to watch it again. It's just okay. It's good. It's like a 7 out of 10. Perfectly adequate. Above average, and that's about it. Number 8, The Shawshank Redemption. Really good and is much better than either Godfathers. I just like the other 7 movies more, you know? I don't get the hype with Shawshank. Number 7, Schindler's List. One of the greatest movies ever made, but so genuinely distressing, I never want to see it again. Fantastic, but I feel very sad after watching it. Number 6, The Dark Knight. The single best comic book movie I've ever seen. Fantastic, but I've never been a big superhero or comic book guy in general, and the other movies I just enjoyed more, you know? Number 5, 12 Angry Men. Still one of my all-time favorite movies. It's the simplest and most down-to-earth of the bunch, but sometimes that's all you need in a film. I love 12 Angry Men. It's really good. Number 4, Pulp Fiction. I mean, it's Pulp Fiction. It's probably the best crime movie ever made. It's both hilarious and horrifying all at the same time, and it is infinitely rewatchable. Number 3, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. My favorite Western and a film I could probably sit down and rewatch right now, and I just watched it. Number 2, Fellowship of the Ring. Fellowship is one of the best fantasy movies for a reason. It's whimsical, intense, and just buckets of fun the whole time. I love it. Number 1, Return of the King. It's everything Fellowship does and then some. Enough said. Well, I did it. So, I've given it quite a bit of thought after everything. It's been a few days. You can tell it's been a few days because I'm wearing a different shirt. It's not a continuity error, it's a fashion statement, god damn it. And all I can say is, after doing everything, after giving my general thoughts on all the movies, 12 to be exact, a lot of thoughts on a lot of movies of all different genres, and after looking at them and trying to figure out why they're so popular, why they're in this top 10 list, this magical top 10 that people deem as the best, okay? And then, after I ranked everything, like, give my own thoughts and see how I would rank these personally, I've discovered a lot about what I did. And I've discovered a lot about myself, and I've discovered a lot about just movies and film and art in general while making this thing for the last 3 months. 3 months of my time crushed into a ball of editing and writing and watching movies. I can say this with certainty. This entire thing, I can say this with certainty. It was very enlightening. I feel truly bettered for doing this because it's given me a whole new outlook on how film is reviewed and talked about. It's given me a whole fresh idea on just movies in general. A lot of movies that I've never seen, that I wanted to see for a long time, but I had just never gotten to. Okay? And I'm not trying to make this like, oh, I've learned something about myself. No, I just mean the sense of, I'm being dramatic for the video. Whatever the fuck. What I'm saying is, after doing all this, after going through everything, I've discovered one thing. Enlightening, but a pain in the fucking ass, okay? I went through so much goddamn work. So much goddamn work. For this video, this stupid video. 3 months of my life, toiling away in this little tiny dinky apartment. 3 months of my life, going through this entire thing. I watched one movie a day, roughly, for like 2 weeks straight. Plus, a lot of other movies that I was just watching in general. I did a lot of stuff during the making of this. Like, so much stuff. Just outside of the video in general, which took a lot of time. I got sick a lot. I got a real nasty ear infection. And that put me out of commission for like 2 weeks almost from working on this thing. Because I was deaf in one ear, basically. It was all plugged up. It was like a fucking cork was shoved in there. Like some fucking sommelier at a fucking fancy restaurant with his wine bottle took the cork and shoved it in my ear. Okay? That's what it felt like. Was out of commission for fucking doing this thing for like 2 weeks because of it. I got sick again and again. It was a whole nightmare. But all I can say is, again, enlightening. Pain in the ass. But enlightening. That, and there was one thought floating around in my head the entire time I made this. Because somebody had to fucking point it out. The list is flawed. Okay? I went in this going, it's the top 10 movies of all time according to IMDb. It's this magical list, this magical fairy tale list that people deem as the best movies until you look at the criteria. It's based on amount of reviews and how positive those reviews were. So if a movie was really popular and got a fuck ton of reviews and they were all really high, it's on the list. But if a movie didn't do as well but it has like a ton of really good reviews, it's not on the list because not as many people reviewed it. Because you're going off of 100 reviews compared to fucking 3,000 reviews. That's just how it is. That is how it is, and the list is flawed because of it. Because art is subjective, okay? When you have a bunch of people that all roughly have the same taste in film, because all these movies are movies that pretty much the average person can watch and go, oh yes, that was a good movie. And a lot of the reviews also are just critics who want to talk about it because it's one of their favorites, or it's fucking film bros who want to look smart because, oh yes, dude, I watched The Godfather, it was so good. Or I watched Pulp Fiction, it was so good. You know, it's that kind of stuff. It's people going, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. You know, it's that sort of thing. It's that sort of like reverberating fucking cave of thoughts. One bounces off a wall, another person hears it, so they bounce it off the wall, another person hears it. You know what I'm talking about? It's just a repeating thing. And that's kind of the whole reason why the list is flawed. Because, you know, it's not really the top 10. It's just a bunch of movies that got really good reviews. And even then, my top 10 is a lot different from your top 10. Your top 10 is a lot different from the top 10 on IMDb. It's art. It's subjective. It's art. It's subjective. That's how art is. That's how art is. And at the end of the day, this entire thing, while not for naught, I'm not going to say it was all for naught, because it wasn't. I got something out of it. Not that I felt smarter, but, like, you know, I felt more in tune with film or whatever the fuck. I don't want to sound pretentious. But basically, I got something out of it in the sense of, like, hey, I watched a bunch of movies that are all really highly reviewed. I watched Schindler's List. We haven't put it off forever because it's depressing. And yeah, it was fucking depressing. I did not feel happy after watching it. But I felt happy after watching Pulp Fiction for the 10,000th time, so that was fun. I got to watch the movies that I already watched, and yeah, enlightening, pain in the ass to make. All I can say is to the people who stuck around this long for the 40-odd minutes of the whole thing, and then however long this segment's going to be, I don't know. I'm recording it after writing it. What can I say? All I can say to you is, don't do what I did. Don't do it in the time span I did. Watch them in whatever order you want, in over whatever time span you want. And also go touch grass. Touch grass for me, because I'm going to sleep for a while, and I'm not going to leave this apartment for a long time. Because I'm going to be sleeping, okay? But, if there is one movie that you're going to watch, it's not on the list, but, it's a movie where I can go, this will be worth it. This might be in your top 10. It's a movie that I watched as a palate cleanser because I needed something real simple and easy after going through the fucking journey that I went through. Fuck Homer's Odyssey. This is the guy's Odyssey. There's one movie that you're going to watch. It's going to be Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. It's got Mike Myers in like 3 different roles. It's got Heather Graham, okay? And it's got Rob Lowe in it, and one of the ladies from the Goldbergs, and the guy who voices Chris Griffin on Family Guy. And it's a fun movie, and it's funny, and it was a real nice treat watching something that I didn't have to pay attention to.